Part 49. Become a disciple of Taoist priest Four Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 485. To the right of the girl, sat a 15 or 16-year-old boy, also wearing a blue robe, with an ordinary appearance, but with an expectant and determined expression. Except for the last boy, the other three people all had a red gourd hanging on their waists. Qin Zhong came in, and except for the boy sitting at the top, everyone stood up. The middle-aged Taoist with a serious expression bowed and saluted. "I've met senior brother. Meet the great uncle." Qin Zhong smiled and nodded. "Junior brother, your cultivation has also recovered." Mentioning this, Lin Zhenying's usually serious face couldn't help but smile. "Senior brother, isn't it the same?" The two looked at each other and smiled. "Is this junior brother's new disciple?" Lin Zhenying nodded and waved. "Qing come to meet your uncle." At the end of the queue, the young man without a gourd on his waist stepped forward. "Zhou Qing pays homage to the great uncle." After observing it for a moment, Qin Zhong activated the Danshan bronze mirror to look at the phantom, and sure enough he found rich purple luck on the top of his head. "Congratulations, junior brother, on gaining another great disciple." Mentioning disciples, Lin Zhenying couldn't help but smile on her face. "Senior brother, isn't it the same, and he even got one more." Qin Zhong waved. Understanding, Wang Chao stepped forward and bowed to salute. "Wang Chao pays homage to his second uncle." "Good boy, get up." Tang Zikan pays homage to his second uncle. Lin Zhenying was stunned and looked at Qin Zhong. "My lineage is really not suitable for women to practice, so I plan to introduce her to the third or fifth junior sister." "Senior brother, it's better to think carefully." Okay, stop talking about old times, come and sit down first." Ren Wuji greeted impatiently. Several people did not dare to neglect and quickly returned to their seats to sit down. The golden lion also transformed into a big man in yellow robe and sat down on Qin Zhong's right side. As soon as he patted the yellow-skinned gourd on his waist, a small stone altar flew out, with a little spiritual light, and landed on the empty futon next to him. The altar's light flashed, and a young Taoist 8 feet tall, wearing a green Taoist robe and a green gourd hanging around his waist, appeared in front of everyone. Although this person looks the same as a real person, if you look closely, you can still see the difference. In fact, this is Su Junming's improved magic circle for the soul, which can allow his soul to be projected into the world more smoothly. "Meet my mentor. Meet the master." His eyes were like lightning, and after quickly scanning everyone, Su Junming nodded. "No gifts." Everyone returned to their seats. "Did you see that? You have gained a few more disciples," Ren Wuji said. After giving him an "I'm not blind" look, he was silent for a moment. "The spiritual energy has recovered." Ren Wuji nodded. "It has been restored to the way it was when you left 100 years ago." Su Junming nodded, his finger gestures changed rapidly, and mysterious auras of light emerged from his fingertips. It stopped after a while. Su Junming's body has obviously become much weaker. It is obvious that these calculations have consumed a lot of energy. There are still 3 years until the next wave of spiritual energy breaks out. By then, the world will be able to accommodate nascent soul monks, and you will be able to break through your current realm. 3 years. Qin Zhong and Lin Zhenying had expectations on their faces. They have been trapped in the Golden Core realm for nearly 100 years and are eager to break through to a higher level. Especially when he knew that several of his junior brothers and sisters had advanced to the level of Yuan Shen and were moving towards the fairyland, this sense of urgency became stronger and stronger. As Su Junming waved his hand, 6 porcelain bottles flew into the hands of Qin Zhong and Lin Zhenying respectively. These 6 bottles of pills contain 4 Taizhang Qi building pills, 72 Sanhuang pills, and 300 Huanja pills. You two will each take 2 of the Qi building pills, and the remaining 2 pills will be given to Feng Xiao. Master, wait until you pass through the nascent soul heavenly tribulation before you use it. You each take half of the 3 yellow pills and the Huanja pills to lay the foundation for your disciples. Yes. Qin Zhong and Lin Zhenying responded respectfully. Grace. The fat man sitting behind Lin Zhenying quickly walked to the front. After a moment of consciousness, Su Junming nodded with satisfaction. The revival of spiritual energy and the advancement of this world to the middle 1,000 worlds will inevitably be accompanied by the advent of a world of great strife. At that time, there will be a situation where the most talented people will show off like rain. In order to gain an advantage in this world of great competition, Su Junming used the secret divine ball early in the morning to deduce the secrets of this world again and again. Fortunately, when he was in this world, he destroyed the Changping ghost army and turned the tide at the end of the world. In addition, he had guarded the fire eye of Wuzang Peak for nearly 100 years, and his merits were profound. Therefore, I got a lot of benefits in advance. Such as Yongrong, such as Yetianyuan, these 2 spiritual seeds with purple energy and unrivaled talents were found by him after deducing the secrets of heaven. I have entered the golden elixir realm, not bad, not bad. They are all well cultivated by the ancestors and masters, Yongrong said quickly. Haha, Zhenying, your disciple's temper is nothing like yours. It's all because of his mistress. Although he said this, Lin Zhenying still showed a proud smile on his old-fashioned face. As his direct disciple, Yongrong advanced to the Golden Core realm at a young age, and his qualifications surpassed his master. It was a great comfort to have a disciple like this. I think it's good for Rong to be like this. Otherwise, if he has the same temperament as you and Rui, how can our family live well? Chen Xiaoying, who was sitting cross-legged next to him, said unceremoniously. After hearing this, Lin Rui, who was sitting in the back and was wearing a green Taoist robe and whose appearance was 70% similar to Lin Zhenying's, twitched the corner of his mouth. His temperament and appearance resemble Lin Zhenying's, and he has always been the object of disdain from Chen Xiaoying and her sister Lin Chen. Uninteresting, one-minded, old-fashioned, etc. are all common words they use to criticize themselves. In comparison, senior brother Yongrong is more like a biological son. Subconsciously he glanced at Zhou Qing, who was sitting upright next to him. My father's new disciple has a temper similar to mine, but he's a little colder. Lin Zhenying felt a little embarrassed about being scolded by his wife while guarding so many people. Before he could speak, Su Junming had already spoken in front of him. Xiaoying, how is your father? Chen Xiaoying nodded. Thank you, master, for caring about me. My father is still in good health. 100 years have passed and Uncle Chen has grown old, Su Junming sighed. Chen Xiaoying's father was Chen Xiaofeng, who was in charge of Dengzhen Pavilion in Megashanfang City at the time of Mission Nanzang. He was also Su Junming's uncle. At that time, he didn't know many people in Mission Nanzang, and Chen Xiaofeng and his disciple Lu Dihua were 2 of them. Although he has been far away in the world of Liuzai for the past 100 years, he still has contact with Master Chen Xiaofeng because of Renwuji's existence. Because of the end of the world, neither the master nor the disciple could advance to the golden elixir. Lu Dihua is not qualified and he doesn't work hard enough. Chen Xiaofeng was frustrated because his wife Yu Yinggu failed to overcome the calamity. He finally got over the decadence of losing his beloved wife. The aura of heaven and earth had declined to the point where it was not enough to achieve the golden elixir. The maximum lifespan of a Xiantian cultivator is 120 years, and Chen Xiaofeng, as the peak Xiantian cultivator, is almost at the end of his lifespan. Master, you have great powers, can you help my father? Chen Xiaoying said anxiously. Su Junming nodded. After I became enlightened, Master Chen took a lot of care of me. If I can help, I will naturally help. With a wave of his hand, a porcelain bottle flew towards Chen Xiaoying. There are 2 good fortune elixirs that I refined here, which can bring life back to the old body. One is for Uncle Chen and the other is for junior brother Lu. With the two of them working hard for many years, if they are determined, they will be able to survive the golden age. Pill Heavenly Tribulation. Chen Xiaoying subconsciously clenched the porcelain bottle in her hand. On behalf of my father and junior brother Lu, I would like to thank my mentor. Strictly speaking, she should call Su Junming senior brother. However, after marrying Lin Zhenying, she also changed her name and called herself master. He waved his hand. Family, you're welcome. His eyes turned to Yang Rong. With a wave of his left hand, two daggers, one black and one white, the size of a sea bowl, appeared in mid-air. When Yang Rong saw it, his expression instantly became excited. Su Junming smiled faintly, flicked his fingers, and the two pieces of clothing slowly flew in front of Yang Rong. This is the yin and yang that the master has practiced for you. It is a spiritual weapon with 12 complete restraints. It can be used as your natal spiritual weapon. Disciple, thank you master. Lin Rui. Lin Rui, who was wearing a green Taoist robe, quickly stepped out of the crowd and walked to Yang Rong's side. Looking at Lin Rui, who was very similar to Lin Zhenying, Su Junming seemed to have seen his second disciple when he was young. He thought to himself, Uncle Ju's genes are really strong. His son only resembles me. Even his grandson is 60–70% similar to him, and his temper is similar. After shaking his head secretly, he opened his palms and revealed two swords, one black and one white. The white sword is 3 feet long and 3 fingers wide. The pure yang qi is extremely rich and exudes this amazing heat. The black sword is 1 foot long and 1 finger wide, with a small blade and a sinister aura. This yin-yang sword is the same as your senior brother Yang's sword. It is also a spiritual weapon that fulfills the 12 prohibitions. It is given to you as your natal spiritual weapon. Thank you, Master. Lin Rui happily took it. He turned around and looked at Lin Chan, who was looking at him eagerly and almost rushed over. Girl. Before he finished speaking, Lin Chan, who was wearing braids and full of youthful energy, had already rushed out with a bang. Master. Looking at her, Su Junming had a smile on his face. Due to the regret he had for the little cotton-padded jacket in his previous life, he often prefers younger disciples, especially girls. You and your mother are practicing the Aoki Shangyu and Gong. Although the realm of Taoism is not as good as that of your two senior brothers, they have also reached the late Xiantian stage. Your master will also give you a spiritual weapon to be your natal magic weapon. Thank you, Master. The little girl rolled her eyes and said, Master, senior brother Yang and big brother are two treasures. You can't be partial. Lin Zhenying frowned for a moment and scolded, Chan'er, you have forgotten how Dad taught you not to be greedy. Lin Chan didn't dare to talk back, but her little mouth was so pouty that it could hang a tow truck. After waving his hand to stop Lin Zhenying, Su Junming said with a smile, Master can promise you. But your senior brother Yang and Lin Rui have both passed the test of the Tianzhenmen and can go down the mountain to practice Taoism. If you can pass, Master I'll give you one more spiritual weapon. Become a disciple of Taoist priest Four Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 486. Tianzhenmen. Lin Chan's face fell instantly. Just 9 years ago, Yang Rong and Lin Rui broke through the innate and wanted to go down the mountain to practice Taoism. However, Lin Zhenying followed the rules of the sect and used the method left to him by Su Junming to summon the phantom of the Tianzhen sect to test the two. As a result, it took Yang Rong 2 years and Lin Rui 2.5 years to pass the test. After Lin Chan broke into Xiantian, she was tested twice in the next 6 or 7 years, and each time she was defeated by the various and almost real illusions. What, you don't dare? Lin Chan, who was very motivated, suddenly became more courageous after being inspired by Su Junming. Master, do you keep what you say? Of course. But if you still fail the test within 3 years, then don't blame Master for breaking his promise. 3 years is 3 years. Haha, it's a deal. It's a deal. Su Junming waved his right hand, and a 7-foot bamboo staff flew in front of Lin Chan. This is the green bamboo staff refined by the master. It is suitable for the wooden path. I give it to you. Lin Chan took it and couldn't put it down, her little face full of joy. Thank you, master. Turning his gaze to the left, a figure nearly 1.9 meters tall, strong, and muscular came into view. Tianyuan. Yet Tianyuan, who had been seduced by all the treasures for a long time, couldn't wait to jump out when he heard his master calling him. Master. Martial arts practice requires profound perseverance and hard training in the cold and summer to achieve success. In the end of the Dharma, spiritual energy is sparse. It is really commendable that you can train martial arts to the late innate stage with your own perseverance. Su Junming opened his palms, a shield, and a giant axe. This Xingtian shield and Xingtian battle axe were specially trained by me for you. The 12 spiritual weapons that have completed the spiritual prohibition can be used as your destiny treasure. Although the Panhuang Sutra he comprehended was for cultivating the physical body, it was not the same as the Wu clan's method of cultivating the physical body. The Wu clan's method of body refining requires absorbing the turbid air of the earth. As time goes by, the body will acquire the richness and solidity of the earth, becoming invulnerable to axes and extremely powerful. But the disadvantage is that you cannot cultivate your soul, and your mind is easily corroded by turbid energy, making you irritable and warlike. Therefore, except for a few smart people, more than 90% of the Wu tribe are barbarians. But it is undeniable that their bodies are definitely the strongest beings in the world of cultivation. Panhuang Zhenjing does not absorb turbid energy, but mainly uses spiritual energy according to Taoist concepts. Use magic power to warm and nourish the physical body, exercise the muscles, bones, skin and flesh, cleanse the marrow and exchange blood, and strengthen yourself. Although it is not as powerful as the witch clan's physical body that absorbs the turbid energy of the earth at the beginning, it is better because it has a solid foundation and no future troubles. In the later stage, its power is not inferior to that of the witch clan, and it is easier to break through. Thank you, Master. After taking it over with admiration, I remembered what I was worried about. Master said that I am not the direct descendant of our sect yet, so I am not qualified to practice the Panhuang Sutra. Su Junming nodded. The Chongshan lineage is strict in recruiting disciples. Unless they can pass the test of the Earth God sect, they cannot become the direct descendants of our section. The difference between direct disciples and named disciples lies in the shadow of the bronze mirror. Only direct disciples can obtain it. Because the assessment is too strict. Apart from Lin Zhenying, only Yang Rong and Lin Rui passed. Chen Xiaoying and Lin Chan did not pass, so even though the latter is from the same mother as Lin Rui, her cultivation level is getting further and further away. Master, this disciple applies for the Earth God sect test. After glancing at him, Su Junming waved his hand. Along with the spiritual light, a thick and simple bluestone door, 1 foot high and 8 feet wide, suddenly appeared in the open space on the side of the main hall. The 3 great divine gates of heaven, earth, and man, with Su Junming's continuous training, are now spiritual treasures of the perfect level. In addition to testing the disciples, they are also a set of powerful defensive spiritual treasures. Disciples of the Chongshan lineage will be branded after passing any divine test. In the future, you can summon the Phantom of Shenmen to defend against enemies. You can go. Nodding, Ye Tianyuan walked over to Kaida Shenmen with firm steps. Looking at his apprentice's back, Qinzhong, who was calm and steady, couldn't help but have a worried look on his face. Only those who have experienced it understand the difficulty of the Earth God Gate test. Of course, the benefits gained after passing are indeed satisfying. Not to mention anything else, the blessing of the bronze mirror on understanding can be called a magical tool in Taoist practice, saving countless time of enlightenment. Yang Rong and Lin Rui looked at Shimin with a somewhat complicated look. There were 365 layers of illusion, and one wrong idea would lead to failure. Lin Chan's eyes showed unwillingness. She entered the Earth God Gate twice, but failed both times. Therefore, she is not a direct descendant of the Chongshan lineage. Because of this, her father, Lin Zhenying, did not pass on the yin-yang scripture to her. She once begged her mother and even her grandfather to go to her ancestor for relief, but her grandfather, who had always doted on her, seriously rejected her this time. Her mother went to find her and taught her patiently. Lin Chan still remembers her mother's words. Chanur, becoming a disciple is no trivial matter. Once you become a disciple, you are closely related and connected by fate. It is the most important thing in the life of us cultivators. If you are not capable enough, even if you become a disciple, it will be a disaster rather than a blessing. Especially your master ancestor has a strong character, and he killed countless demons and caused endless karma. If your qualifications are not high enough, your ability is not enough, and you are not blessed with good fortune, you will most likely have to turn into dust in the entanglement of endless causes and effects. After listening to her mother's words, Lin Chan also gave up her desire to join the Chongshan lineage. Moreover, because of her father's relationship, although she was not a direct disciple of the Chongshan lineage, she had an opportunity that was no less than a direct disciple of the Chongshan lineage. However, when she saw Yang Rong and Lin Rui's successful apprenticeships, and their cultivation soared, her thoughts of becoming apprentices came to life again. Looking at Lin Chan who was about to move, Lin Zhenying sighed secretly. In terms of qualifications, my daughter is not inferior to her compatriot Lin Rui. But growing up under the favor of everyone, she lacked perseverance and resilience, which is why she has never been able to pass the Earth God Gate test. In contrast, the Chinese tradition of attaching great importance to the cultivation of the eldest son and Lin Zhenying's education method that does not hesitate to use sticks make Lin Rui particularly outstanding. However, despite knowing the reason, if Lin Chan wanted to be like Lin Rui and follow him around the world, driving corpses, catching monsters, getting rid of ghosts, and sleeping in the open, he would definitely not be able to bear it. Su Junming, who had a keen sense of consciousness, also saw the change in Lin Chan's expression, but he didn't take it to heart. He likes this child very much, he is well behaved and sensible, and he is not stingy with rewards. However, if you want to become a disciple of Chongshan sect, don't even think about it unless you pass the test of Earth God sect. The bronze mirror is of great importance and should not be given lightly unless it is a direct descendant. After Ye Tianyun walked into the Earth God Gate, Su Junming's eyes quickly swept over the three figures sitting at the end. He had already seen them in a bronze mirror, so he naturally knew the value of the three of them. But Su Junming was very curious. Without his own guidance, how did Lin Zhenying and Qin Zhong find them among hundreds of millions of people? Won't you introduce your new disciple to me? As the senior brother, Qin Zhong naturally spoke first this time. Master, this is Wang Chao, the disciple I accepted in Longquan City. This is Tang Zikan. Seeing that she has good qualifications, I plan to introduce her to our section. However, she is not suitable for practicing my sect, so I still please let Master make the decision and let her become a disciple of 3rd junior sister or 5th junior sister to practice Taoism. Meet the Master. The two stood up, walked to the middle, and bowed down. Seeing the two of them, Su Junming remembered a novel he had read in his previous life. Could it be them? Shaked his head. It's probably just a name similarity, after all, the two worlds are so different. Get up. Only then did the two dare to stand up straight. Zhenying, where is your disciple? Master Qi, this son's name is Zhou Cheng. He was originally a casual cultivator in Guanyang City. It seems that he has some connections with our Chongshan lineage. Oh. I wonder if Master ever remembers Mao Tianyu, the registered disciple he accepted in Tanzhou. Su Junming nodded. In Uncle Ju's world, he accepted a total of 3 named disciples. One was Mao Tianyu, who was accepted in Tanzhou, and the other was the Englishman James, who was accepted in Wuchang. The last one was a woman named Li Yui, who he rescued after killing a snake demon pretending to be a river god in Sanhe County. However, the person who accepted her as a registered disciple was not Su Junming himself, but his former puppet body, the vampire Vivian. Compared to the registered disciples he accepted in the Liuzai world, whether Mao Tianyu or James, even the last Li Yui was really a registered disciple. Apart from teaching him a set of fists and kicks and a few pills, he almost never took care of him. Zhou Qing is the great-grandson of junior brother Mao Tianyu. When I saw that he was good at 4 elephant palms, I stepped forward to ask questions. Only then did I know about his connection with our Chongshan lineage. Later I saw that he had excellent qualifications and couldn't bear to bury him and take him under your wing. After Su Junming nodded, he looked at Zhou Qing, not seeing much similarity with the Mao Tianyu in his impression. Son, is your great-grandfather still here? Master, my grandma said that my great-grandfather went to Treasure Island before liberation, and there has been no news since then. If Master hadn't mentioned it, I wouldn't have known that my great-grandfather was still Master's disciple. This disciple was a layman back then. He had met junior brother Mao several times and knew the names of his children, so he could only remember them when Zhou Qing mentioned them, Lin Zhenying said. Su Junming nodded. Back then, Mao Tianyu had a body of pure yang. I didn't expect that his great-grandson's qualifications were still above his. Zhou Qing, Wang Chao, and Tang Zikan are all innate Taoist bodies. Zhou Qing's body contains an innate Taisu yin and yang fundamental energy. It's no wonder that Lin Zhenying is tempted to accept him as his disciple. Wang Chao's body contains a stream of 9-day pure energy, and the pure energy is opposite to the turbid energy. It is said that the essence and blood of Pangu were mixed with the turbid air of the earth to create the 12 ancestral witches. The Pangu Yuan Shen combined with the pure qi of the 9 heavens to create the Sanking Taoist ancestors. It can be seen from this that the importance and power of Joshin Kinki is a composite spiritual energy that combines wind, frost, rain, snow, thunder, starlight, magnetism, lunar sun, and many other properties. The Panhuang Sutra, which Su Junming comprehended, uses the pure qi of the 9 heavens to combine with the qi and blood to train the physical body. Tang Zikan's body contains an innate Taisu Hanbing fundamental energy. She is destined to be with Su Huang. His eyes slowly swept across the faces of the 3 people. Do you and the other 3 have the courage to go to the Earth God Gate now? If you can pass, I will also give you 2 top-level spiritual weapons like your senior brothers and sisters. In addition, I will also give you a bottle of yellow button. The 3 of them looked at each other. Wang Chao bowed first and then walked towards the Dishan gate. Tang Zikan and Zhou Qing followed closely behind. Soon the 3 figures disappeared inside the door. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 487. After Ye Tianyuan, Zhou Qing, Tang Zikan, and Wang Chao walked into the Earth God Gate, the energy of everyone in the hall was obviously not as concentrated as before. This is especially true for Qin Zhong and Lin Zhenying, the 2 masters. Su Junming ignored them and turned his head. Golden Lion, how many years have passed and you have a daughter? He, it's all thanks to the master, otherwise I would still be in Kunlun ruins eating hair and drinking blood all day long. Su Junming smiled faintly and spread his palms. 3 pale golden octagonal copper hammers flew towards the Golden Lion. These 3 spiritual weapons are my gifts to them, please accept them. Jinshi has been with Su Junming for many years, and he is also a discerning person. When he saw these 3 copper hammers, he knew that they were spiritual weapons that fulfilled the 12 prohibitions. Not polite at the moment. I'll take those 3 little boys to thank you, master. Su Junming nodded slightly. With his current ability, refining spiritual weapons was completely at his fingertips. If it didn't take a certain amount of time, he wouldn't feel bad no matter how much he spread out. What's more, this Golden Lion clan is the guardian spirit beast he selected for his eldest disciple. In the future, both parties will be closely related, and their strength cannot be lowered. After soothing the Golden Lion, he turned his attention to the young man in black sitting next to Lin Zhenying. Xianxi, you have grown up too. When the black water black snake was found in the Dharma realm of the dead mother Li Xingfang, it was just a little snake that had just hatched. After New Year's greetings, it has become a golden elixir, and its cultivation level is no worse than that of a golden lion. Xianxi thanks you for cultivating me. After Su Junming nodded, he waved his hand and a blue jade slip flew in front of it. This is a little bit of my experience in meditating on water magic. You can use it to meditate on it. Xianxi's eyes lit up and she quickly took it. Thank you, sir. Zhenying, since the spiritual energy between heaven and earth has revived, is there any news from the netherworld? Su Junming asked instead. Disciple just tried using the netherworld spell, but there is still no response. When Su Junming heard this, he sighed slightly. Master, don't worry. Mission, have been operating in the netherworld for many years. Master will be fine, Lin Zhenying said. Su Junming nodded and waved. The 4 of them won't be able to come out for a while, so you should go back first. Seeing that he was a little uninterested, Qin Zhong and Lin Zhenying stood up and bowed before silently retreating. After the door closed and silence returned in the room, Ren Wuji said, who had been silent. Still worried about Simu? Su Junming frowned. Is that your master too? Of course. But you are about to become an immortal after all. Don't be so sentimental all day long, or you may not be able to survive the inner demons. Roll. Brutal and simple answer. Ren Wuji didn't care and said with a smile, okay, I have some good news for you. Su Junming turned his head and showed an expression that said, let it go soon. Ren Wuji patted the green gourd on his waist, and a ball of black and white light, the size of a castano size, flew out. The shadow of a black and white millstone loomed in the light group, but it quickly disappeared. Feeling the rich innate aura in it, Su Junming exclaimed. Innate immortal aura, have you found it? 100 years ago, he swept through the White Lotus sect, the Changping Ghost Army, the Japanese Cultivation Circle and the Great Qin Ghost Army in this world, suppressed the Wuzang Peak Fire Eye, and accumulated numerous merits and achievements. Except for Yongrong and Yetianyuan, 2 talented people who can inherit the Taoism. It is a clue to the innate immortal light. Innate immortal spiritual light is a treasure that is only born at the beginning of the world era. Only this kind of treasure containing the aura of creation can give birth to the innate spiritual treasure that practitioners dream of. When this world was promoted to the middle thousand world and Su Junming deduced the secret of heaven and got the clue of this innate immortal aura, he immediately asked Ren Wuji to look for it. Now this treasure is finally in hand. It's my luck, sir. I found it in a cave where yin and yang meet when I first arrived in Kunlun Mountain. It's a coincidence. It's an immortal aura that contains the laws of yin and yang. It's a perfect match for me. The corners of Su Junming's eyes twitched. He seriously doubted that this guy had guided the innate immortal aura that had no attributes when he was born into the innate immortal aura that evolved into yin and yang. But now that the matter was over, it was his side that benefited, so he didn't say anything. Besides it, are there any other treasures? Boss, you are too greedy. You have an innate immortal light, what else do you want? Really not. Seeing Su Junming's threatening gaze, Renwuji's eyes became a little more evasive, and he quickly retreated in defeat, patting the green gourd. Gee, come on, it's true. I've obviously cut off prying eyes, but I'm still being noticed. It's really a bad year. A stream of light flew into Su Junming's palm. After looking at it for a moment, he stretched out his hand and grasped it, and the light burst out. In an instant, a thick wooden stake, 3 feet long and nearly 2 feet in diameter, greenish-brown in color and with jagged fractures, appeared in front of him. There is a depression in the middle of the wooden pile, just enough space for a person. He reached out and grabbed it, and a strand of black mist the size of a hair appeared in his palm. Su Junming frowned. What's going on? Is there still corpse energy here? When I found it, there was an evil spirit living in this spirit tree, and I got rid of it. But you are really a dog. I have cleaned it up so well, can you still find the remains of the corpse energy? Glancing at him, Su Junming said casually, my soul cultivation level. Renwuji's expression froze, and he said angrily, if it weren't for the burden of heaven and earth, I would have lost my soul long ago. Ignoring the sour taste in his mouth, Su Junming soaked his consciousness into the wood. The aura of Jiamu is extremely rich, but it is full of a rotten smell. It is obvious that this broken wood has existed for a long time. The spiritual consciousness approached the center of the tree trunk step by step, and as the sapphire-like texture reflected into the sea of consciousness, a strong resistance came. Su Junming did not rush forward and activate the bronze mirror. Soon everything in the broken wood became clear. In the middle of a piece of sapphire-like wood pith, a line of extremely rich green wood spiritual energy came into view. The innate charm is extremely strong, and it exudes an aura of creation. Innate Taishi Aoki's fundamental energy. Su Junming was shocked. It seems that this wood was originally an innate spiritual root. What a pity. It's a pity indeed. If it hadn't lost too much of its essence over time, this piece of wood, which was obviously the backbone of the innate spiritual root, would have been far more powerful than it is now. After sighing for a moment, he struck down with a palm in the air. The broken wood instantly shattered, and the green wood spiritual energy was scattered. Along with the flying wood chips, a 9-foot-tall sapphire staff, as thick as a wrist, made of sapphire-like material, with a cloud of smoke flowing inside appeared in Su Junming's hand. Hey, let me tell you. Although you can see a lot of wood around here, it is still a top-quality spiritual material that can be refined into top-notch spiritual weapons. How come you smashed it all? What a bastard. I don't feel bad, Renwuji said in pain. Glanced at him. Su Junming spread out his left palm, and the splintered sawdust flew towards his palm as if they had a target. Visible to the naked eye, the 9 bamboo sticks gradually grow from short to long. When the bamboo stick grows to 7 feet, all the wood energy has been absorbed. Soon, rays of spiritual light climbed up from the bamboo staff, and in the blink of an eye, 9 perfect level spiritual weapons were refined. With a casual throw, the bamboo stick flew in front of Renwuji. Keep it for yourself. What he valued now was the wooden stick in his hand. An innate spiritual material, whether used for refining treasures or refining spells, is a top-notch material that can make his strength one step closer. After putting it away carefully, his heart moved, and with a wave of his hand, 4 more of the 9 bamboo sticks given to Renwuji flew out. What are you doing? It works. Renwuji quickly understood. For those 4 boys. I didn't bring many things with me this time. Although the spiritual weapons are not valuable, with my soul body, it is quite labor-intensive to practice them. Besides, don't you already have the yin-yang millstone, the eternal light mirror, and the demon-suppressing golden circle? Are you done? There is no need for these green bamboo sticks. I rolled my eyes at him and said, the yin and yang millstone has been integrated into the innate immortal spiritual light by me. Unless it is completely mature, I can't use it. You know, the innate spiritual treasure requires a huge amount of spiritual energy and a lot of time to grow. I guess I won't be able to see it in 100 or 200 years. Although the eternal light mirror is strong and the demon subduing golden circle is good, I only have 2 spiritual weapons in hand, and my background is too poor. Those newbies are no worse than my great uncle. How can this be possible? Tolerate. So, you have to keep a few more of these green bamboo sticks for me. Otherwise, when I go out in the future, the master uncle, will have no cards. Su Junming glanced at him. With all this free time, you might as well become more familiar with your own magical powers. Of course I know that. I don't want to lose to the Dragon Emperor. He is almost becoming an immortal. Ren Wuji's face froze. If it weren't for the environmental restrictions, I would have become an immortal long ago. Although he said this, the envy in his words could not be stopped. 7 days passed in a row. The stone door flashed with light, and a figure wearing a blue robe came out. Su Junming was slightly stunned. He originally thought that Ye Tianyun would be the first to come out, but the reality was beyond his expectation. Disciple Zhou Qing pays homage to his master and his uncle. Look at him with spiritual eyes. You are very good. You entered last but were able to come out first. Your qualifications and character are really good. Thank you, master, for the compliment. Su Junming nodded with satisfaction. This boy was neither humble nor arrogant in front of him. Apart from anything else, his courage and perseverance surpassed countless others. At this time, the Earth God Gate flashed with light, and Ye Tianyun, Wang Chao and Tang Zikin appeared at the same time. They glanced at each other, then walked to the middle in unison, saluted Su Junming and said hello. Boss, you can pass the Earth God Sect test in 7 days. Among the 3 generations of disciples, except Yang Rong who can compare with them, Fu Qingfeng, Fu Yueqi and Gongsun Juniang, who were the first to get started, are all behind them. Su Junming nodded and said to himself, as expected, he is the son of luck at the beginning of the Zhongqian world. His character, perseverance, and understanding are far beyond those of ordinary people. Become a disciple of Taoist priest Four Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 488. Although qualifications, understanding, and perseverance do not mean everything in practice, people who can possess these can often go further on the road of practice. Especially with the blessing of the bronze mirror, their future will be better than that of their peers with outstanding qualifications. The majestic gaze slowly swept over the 4 people. Maybe some of you have mentioned it to you, but some don't know. I will say it again here today. The name of our sect is Chongshan Academy, also known as Chongshan Lineage or Chongshan Tao. I, Taoist Chongshan True Monarch Su Junming, am the founder of our section. I entered Taoism in the southern sect of Mission. The master, also known as the Four-Eyed Taoist Master, the great uncle of your Taishi, passed away 100 years ago. After saying that, his finger gestures changed, auras of light flashed through him, and the shadow of the four-eyed Taoist priest quickly appeared in mid-air. After they saw it clearly and remembered it, Su Junming dispersed. Your Grand Master's great uncle, whose honorific title is Zombie Taoist Priest Lin Feng Xiao, has a golden elixir cultivation level, and is now the supreme elder of Mission Southern Section. As for the origin of our sect and the southern sect of Mission, you just need to know it and don't worry about it. Our sect is not the lower courtyard of Mission, nor is it a special sect of Mission. There is no need to respect the edicts of Mission. It is just that in the future, when traveling around the world, I will meet the disciples of Mission and help me. That's it? Can you remember it? I'll keep this in mind. The 4 people responded respectfully. From the time he founded the Chongshan lineage, Su Junming had already thought about his relationship with the Mission Nanzang. He didn't think it was anything. After all, the Mission South sect was separated from the North sect. Wouldn't it be equally independent and become a branch of a great sect? Besides me, there are 7 people from the first generation of the Chongshan lineage. The first one is the one you see, the Tai Chi Yin and Yang True Lord Renwuji Master's uncle. Hearing him mention himself, Renwuji instantly puffed up his chest and belly, wanting to show his demeanor as an elder, but unfortunately he looked like a child of 5 or 6 years old. After all the pretentiousness, not only did he not have any majesty, but he made people feel cute. Make people laugh. However, in the solemn atmosphere, no one among the 4 Zhou dared to speak. The second one is the Tai 5 Virtues True Monarch Dragon Emperor, the great uncle of the Dragon Master, who is not here at the moment. As for who the next 5 are, I will tell you later. Su Junming arranged his 7 spirits Dharmakaya to be the first generation disciples to occupy a trap and avoid being difficult to explain in the future. The second generation disciples of the Chongshan lineage are all currently under the sect of our master. None of your uncles have ever accepted disciples. In my lineage, there are 5 direct disciples, 3 inner disciples, and 3 named disciples. The direct disciple Qin Zhong is also your great uncle. The second disciple is Lin Zhenying, the third disciple is Qiao Shaoxin, the fourth disciple is Yan Chixia, and the fifth disciple is Su Huang. Inner disciples, Su Yang, Li Wubing, and Ji Yao. Named disciples, Mao Changshan, James, and Li Yui. In fact, strictly speaking, Su Yang, Li Wubing, and Ji Yao were also registered disciples. However, compared to Mao Changshan and the other 2 people who were accepted by Su Junming because of errands, they had been trained by Chongshan Academy and had excellent qualifications and high cultivation. They could expect to be immortals in the future. It cannot be measured by simply registered disciples, so Su Junming came up with a standard for distinguishing inner disciples. From now on, those who came from Chongshan Academy but did not meet the standard of direct inheritance were all inner disciples. Master's 3 named disciples are now deceased. It is enough for you to know their names. His understanding of the destiny talisman was close to the fairyland. When he knew the cause and effect between Zhou Qing and Mao Tiaoyu, he made some calculations. Although the details are not yet known, the important matter of whether they are still alive is very clear. As for the third generation of disciples, the first ones to get started were the 2 disciples of Su Huang, your 5th master uncle. With a flick of the finger, the figures of Fu Qingfeng and Fu Yueqi appeared in mid-air. The beautiful image was deeply imprinted in the hearts of Ye Tianyuan, Wang Chao and Zhou Qing. Everyone has a love for beauty, but they are still young after all. Su Junming took one look and smiled. Fu Qingfeng and Fu Yueqi, they are twin sisters, and they are also your senior and second senior sisters. Next is Gongsun Juniang, a disciple of your third master uncle and his direct disciple. Now Ning Keichin is still completing the 300,000 good deeds assigned by Su Junming. He is only a registered disciple and has not officially started. Compared with the beauty of Fu Qingfeng and Fu Yueqi, Gongsun Juniang, like Qiao Shaoxin, is not very beautiful, but has a dignified and compassionate temperament, which makes people feel close and respectful. Behind Juniang is Yang Rong, senior brother Yang, whom you are all familiar with. After Yang Rong is Lin Rui, and after Lin Rui is you, Ye Tianyuan. Ye Tianyuan's eyes trembled. He did not expect that he himself ranked 6th among the third-generation disciples. As for the 3 of you, Zhou Qing is the first to pass the test and is the 7th disciple of the third generation. Tang Zikan is the 8th, Wang Chao, and you are the last. Although he was unwilling to give in, Wang Chao also knew that he had the lowest cultivation level among all the people. After all the calculations, it had only been 2 months since I met Tang Zikan and learned Bajiquan. Although I am the latest to get started, I must surpass them in cultivation, Wang Chao thought to himself. He raised his head and met the gaze of his ancestor. The expectant look in his eyes made him feel courageous. Tianyuan already has the Xingtian shield and the Xingtian battle axe. Zhou Qing, what spiritual weapon do you want? Zhou Qing was excited. He took a step forward, bowed and said, "This disciple wants a Tai Chi diagram." Tai Chi diagram was the spiritual treasure that he thought of that was most in line with the yin and yang principles. After Su Junming nodded, "I have given 2 spiritual weapons to your senior brothers and sisters. So in addition to the Tai Chi diagram, I will also give you a water and fire Taoist robe." After that, with a wave of his hand, a Taoist robe that was generally cyan with blue etchings embroidered on the chest and red etchings embroidered on the back, a mixture of water and fire, and a 3-foot square Tai Chi diagram flew towards Zhou Cheng. He caught it with an excited expression. "Thank you, Master." After nodding slightly, he turned to Tang Zikin. "You are born with an innate Tai Chi ice basic Qi in your body, which is most suitable for cultivating the ice path. And my 5th disciple, Su Huang, became a Taoist with ice, so in the future you should worship her as your teacher." Tang Zikin couldn't help but think of the elder wearing a white dress, with a cold expression, beautiful appearance and luxurious temperament. There was an aura about the other person that made her feel close to him. Disciples follow the instructions of the ancestor. Su Junming nodded. "What kind of spiritual weapon do you like?" Tang Zikin pondered for a moment. "Back to my ancestor, my disciple likes swords." "Forget it, I will give you the Ice Soul Cold Light Sword and Fi'un Immortal Clothes." A long sword with cold light and a white dress embroidered with a phoenix flew towards Tang Zikin. Seeing the 2 treasures, Tang Zikin's usually calm and pretty face also showed joy. Disciple thanks the ancestor for the treasure. Su Junming smiled and nodded, then looked at the last 3rd generation disciple. "Wang Chao, what treasure do you want?" "Disciple wants a spear," Wang Chao said quickly. In fact, he didn't know what kind of magic weapon he liked, but considering that he had practiced Bajiquan for 2 months, it was born out of the Great Spear technique. Li Shuwen, the founder of Bajiquan, was even known as the Magic Spear. An idea flashed in his mind and he decided to get a gun. "I will give you the Overlord Spear and Golden Dragon Armor." Soon a 2-foot-long black iron spear and a set of pale gold body-refining armor flew into Wang Chao's hands. "Thank you, Patriarch, for the treasure." After nodding, Su Junming quickly glanced at everyone. With a wave of his hand, more than a dozen streams of light flew towards the 4 people. In each hand, there was a crimson gourd, a palm-sized pocket courtyard, a black command talisman the size of an adult's palm, and a 7-foot green bamboo staff. Look at their surprised expressions. Su Junming smiled and said, "The red gourd is the standard item for the 3 generations of my disciples. The Dongtian Dharma Realm and the Hushan Spirit Talisman are also things that the direct disciples have. Your master and senior brothers and sisters all have them. As for this green bamboo staff," he glanced at Renwuji, the old god beside him, and said, "I have to thank your great uncle Ren for this. This is a meeting gift from him." "Disciple, I would like to thank my master and uncle." Renwuji waved his hand carelessly. "No need, just practice hard in the future and be worthy of my old man's treasure." A boy who looks like 5 or 6 years old has an old-fashioned tone, which is really inconsistent. Su Junming waved his hand, and the phantoms of 4 bronze mirrors flew into their danshan. "Okay, you can go out. Your respective masters will be responsible for apprenticeship matters." "Yes. Tang Zikin, you will practice under your second uncle for the time being. Your master will come to find you in a few days." Tang Zikin nodded and followed several of his classmates out. With a wave of his hand, the phantom of the Earth God Gate disappeared, and the hall became quiet. "You put Tang Zikin under Huang Er's door, and you're not going to take her to the world of Liuzai." Su Junming shook his head. "She is the child of luck in this world. If she practices in this world, she will advance faster and have more blessings and opportunities in the future." "You mean to let Huang Er come to this world?" Renwuji said. "Huang Er has already trained the 3 corpses Yuan Shen, and sending one of her Yuan Shen to this world will not delay her practice. Moreover, This world has been promoted to the middle 1,000 worlds, even though its background is not as good as Chixi and Shenzhou. But this world has just been promoted, and it is a good opportunity. It is a time when luck is at its highest, and if she can come, it will be a good thing for cultivation. Ren Wuji nodded in agreement. Are you leaving now? Su Junming shook his head. I'm going to meet Uncle Ju. Moreover, when the heaven and earth in this world are revived, it is when the law sprouts and the secret of heaven is revealed. It is very easy to realize the truth. This opportunity cannot be missed. It's just right for me to communicate with my disciples like you and let them get close to you. The patriarch Ren Wuji nodded and smiled. Su Junming nodded and said with emotion, I didn't expect that 100 years would pass so quickly. Looking back now, everything seems like yesterday. Haha, 100 years is nothing. There will be thousands and thousands of years in the future, and the path to immortality is endless. I will search for it from top to bottom. Su Junming glanced at him, smiled slightly, and said no more. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 489. Chapter 482, Innate Spiritual Roots. Time passed little by little. Through the projection of his soul, Su Junming stayed in the Jushu world for 7 days before returning to the Liuzai world. Looking at the cross-border teleportation array blooming with spiritual light in front of him, Su Junming held the netherworld bone flag with a guarded expression. However, until the wooden staff obtained from Ren Wuji appeared in front of him, Lord Huosang did not come out to stop him. Strange, has he already left? Subconsciously urging the divine ball to deduce, the thread hanging over his head has not diminished, but as his cultivation continues to improve, his strength becomes stronger and not as strong as before. If something goes wrong, there must be a monster, but Lord Huosang is stronger than him, and using the divine sphere to deduce the future doesn't provide much enlightenment. However, the name Qiu Liang became increasingly clear. When he was deducing the name, the previously chaotic secret suddenly became much clearer. Daqi Dynasty? Is this person in Daqi? After pondering for a moment, he shook his head. There is no need to give up the practice at hand and go to Daqi to find this person. As long as you are in this world, it is impossible to transcend the fairyland in practice, unless Lord Huosang has extraordinary means. But even so, he was not afraid. Not to mention the Fuyapo Dharmakaya Dragon Emperor who is already infinitely close to transcending the tribulation. He also has stronger means. Putting away the wooden staff and the netherworld bone flag, he took a step and instantly appeared in a hall. In the huge and vast space, there stands a giant god 3,000 feet tall, with the head of a bull and the body of a bull, with 6 arms on his ribs and covered with dark blue divine patterns. Looking at this body, the body is full of energy and vitality, and the chest injury has been completely repaired. Su Junming's eyes showed uncontrollable excitement. 30 years. Over the past 30 years, he had spent countless resources, including Sahangpudu, who had cultivated the great demon body to the peak of his soul, and all the dynasty dragon energy accumulated by the Daong dynasty for hundreds of years, and finally managed to repair the locked sword. The wound left by a puncture. Although it is expensive, it is all worth it. A puppet body made from the magical body of a high-ranking warrior from the Witch clan was his last trump card against the great Lord Huosang. His divine consciousness connected with the puppet talisman in his sea of consciousness, and his 3,000-foot body moved instantly. In a flash of light, he transformed into a tall, yellow-faced man with a height of 9 feet and a majestic build. As Su Junming waved his hand, the battle armor he had trained earlier, plus a 8-foot-long spear, flew into the big man's body. Soon, a warrior with a helmet and armor, a terrifying momentum, and blood like a sea, appeared in front of him. After examining it for a moment, he nodded with satisfaction. With a wave of his hand, the wizard flew the puppet into his sleeve. Turning around and going out, A huge black dog raised its head. In 30 years, too many things have changed. The black dog who was once in the golden core realm has now advanced to the nascent soul realm. One of the 8 bulges between the shoulders and neck also cracked, and a new dog head grew out. The current Hefeng looks like a 2-headed Hades dog. "Master, are you out of seclusion?" said the dog head on the left. Before Su Junming could say anything, the dog head on the right immediately complained. "Master, you have been in seclusion for the past few days," and Niu Kuei went to the third master to hang out with Qing Feng again. "This guy is really stupid. What can happen with a cow and a fox?" The dog head on the left looked full of contempt. The dog head on the right winked instantly. "Maybe that stupid cow can create a new species, such as a fox head, a cow body, and a fox tail. Why not a cow's head, a fox's body, and a cow's tail? Also, hey, we should give it a name, like cow fox, fox cow, or something like that." The 2 dog heads started a heated discussion. Seeing them like this, Su Junming couldn't help but shook his head. Ever since the black dog passed through the nascent soul tribulation and grew a new dog head, it has become like this. Looking at the 7 remaining bulges on its neck, they are obviously heads that have not yet grown. It would really be a headache if all 9 of them opened their mouths at the same time. Black Wind. The dog head on the left who was talking happily looked towards Su Junming. "You go and guard Chongshan residence." Black Cloud. The head on the right looked over. "Go and guard the Sutra Pavilion." Seeing the majestic look in their master's eyes, the 2 dog heads did not dare to neglect and pulled to the left and right respectively. In an instant, the black dog, which was 20 or 30 feet tall, turned into 2 black dogs of similar size. The light flashed and disappeared in front of Su Junming. After Hefeng advanced to the nascent soul, he awakened a unique innate magical power of the 9 netherworld dog, the distraction technique. Each head represents a clone and an extra life. This magical power is very similar to Su Junming's 7 soul clones. But its disadvantage is that every time a clone is divided, the main body's cultivation is divided into 2. Moreover, the clone cannot be cultivated. This undoubtedly limits the potential of distraction. However, one clone has 1 life, and as long as all of them are not dead, the main body will not die, which is very precious. He urged Hu Tianshen to perform magic and came to the backyard of Chongshan residence. After more than 30 years of sacrificial training, creation Lingqi has reached the peak of the Lingbao realm, and has accumulated enough foundation to overcome tribulations. If Su Junming hadn't suppressed it, it would have become an immortal weapon 10 years ago. He took out the wooden staff he got from Renwuji. Although this unknown innate spiritual root has been dead for many years, there is still a trace of the innate Taishi Aoki root energy in its remaining tree heart. Fundamental Qi contains good fortune, which means that it may be revived in the future in a sufficient spiritual Qi environment. Su Junming's eyes were full of anticipation. "Hopefully we can save it. Release your palm," a wooden staff 9 feet long, as thick as an adult's wrist, like a sapphire, and fly slowly towards the creation spirit pond. As if he sensed something, the innate Taishi King Mu fundamental energy inside the wooden staff began to circulate rapidly like blue smoke. In an instant, the sky above the creation spiritual pond was extremely dense, and wisps of spiritual energy ribbons, like spiritual snakes, flew towards the wooden staff. As more and more spiritual energy was absorbed by the wooden staff, a faint cyan glow bloomed from the inside of the wooden staff. Gradually, a small bulge appeared on the thick bottom of the wooden stick. The bulge became more and more slender, like the roots of jade, growing out tenaciously. It looks like a toddler. Although it is slow, you can see that it is growing continuously. When the root grew to 3 feet and gradually turned brown, 3 protrusions appeared next to it. At the same time, a light green bulge slowly grew out from the top of the wooden stick. The pink and tender green color was like the buds growing out of the dry branches when spring came. It made people feel happy, as if watching to the hope of the future. Time passed little by little, and when the spiritual energy accumulated over the years was absorbed above the creation spirit pond, the spiritual water in the pond was also reduced by 1/5. What was once a wooden stick has turned into a small tree 1 foot 3 feet tall, green in color, with 3 branches and 17 narrow leaves. Live. Su Junming was excited. Originally, he was just trying it, but he was not 100% sure. After all, this unknown innate spiritual root had been dead for too long. I never thought that it would actually work in the end. You must know that this is the innate spiritual root, a supreme treasure that contains the path of wood. As long as it exists, Kongshan sect can cultivate generations of disciples who are proficient in Mucine Taoism. When it grows big enough, any leaf will be the top material for cultivating spiritual talismans, and even a branch can be transformed into an immortal weapon in the hands of a skilled weapon refiner. If this innate spiritual root is a spiritual fruit tree, it would really be a super jackpot. It is completely possible to refine elixirs that would make immortals envious. All kinds of benefits quickly flashed through Su Junming's mind. After a long time, he took a deep breath and calmed down a little. Although he knew that the material of the innate spiritual root was tough and powerful, he still subconsciously used his magic power to carefully lift it up and plant it in the center of the spiritual island in the creation spirit pond. This innate spiritual root has just regained its vitality. If it wants to grow, it will take a lot of time and a huge amount of spiritual energy to water it. For a while, don't even think about what great role it can play. But even so, with it suppressing the Daihuang mountain, one's own cave heaven Dharma realm, and even the small 1,000 worlds in the future, will never have to worry about the decline of spiritual energy into the age of ending Dharma. Of course, if the world wants to advance, there is no other way to automatically reduce spiritual energy in order to accumulate foundation. No matter how strong the innate spiritual root is, it cannot compete with the world that gave birth to it. Deo ancestor bless you, this must be an innate spiritual fruit tree. It doesn't matter even if its background is shallow. After praying silently, Su Junming walked out of the backyard of Chongshan residence after looking at the young tree that had completely taken root and was full of vitality. With a quick step, we arrived at Taiyuan Cave. The once bare top of the cave has been covered by a simple but grand stone palace. Outside the stone hall, a high-spirited man in a green robe was holding dozens of red roses and flattering a beautiful girl in a green dress, with a gold hairpin in her hair. King Mei, I picked this from my master's garden. It has a rich aroma and long-lasting color. Moreover, if you smell it for a long time, it can also beautify your face. Monsters, as long as they are female, are also more concerned about appearance. Upon hearing this, King Feng's eyes lit up instantly. Brother Niu, this flower is so good. The cry of Brother Niu made Kuei Niu's bones crisp up. The cow's eyes narrowed, a faint blush appeared on the long black face, the expression was excited, and the big head nodded fiercely. Don't worry, King Mei, this is what the master said, and I will never give it back. I never said that. A faint voice came from the two sides. Niu Kuei's expression froze, and when Qingfeng saw Su Junming, her beauty immediately turned pale and she quickly knelt down. Uncle, forgive me. Brother Niu stole the flowers that uncle planted because of me. If uncle wants to punish me, then punish me. After glancing at her, Su Junming turned his head. I can't see it. You stupid cow is tall and thick and looks like a black man. You captured someone so quickly. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 490. Chapter 483 Zuj Wolong. Although he didn't know who the Black Li Kuei the master was talking about was, After following Su Junming for a long time, Kuei Niu could certainly tell whether his master was really angry. After taking a few cautious glances, he felt relieved and a flattering smile appeared on his dark face. Master, isn't this what you taught me? I didn't ask you to steal the roses I worked so hard to grow. When Su Junming opened Chongshan residence, he planted a few rose spirit plants that he accidentally acquired in the previous world in the front yard. Over 100 years, under the cultivation of strong spiritual energy, these roses have blossomed and grown into a large area, and their quality has improved. However, he has long since outgrown these spiritual roots of the highest cave mysterious level, and they are usually just for viewing. It doesn't matter even if some are picked off by Kuei cattle. But this kind of behavior must be punished, otherwise if this stupid cow is bolder, what will happen? My lord, please forgive me. Kuei Niu said quickly. As long as you know you are guilty. Go to the junction of 2 days and get me the spiritual energy of March. Kuei Niu's expression turned bitter. The so-called junction of the 2 days was the junction between Daihuang Mountain and the outside world of Liuzai. To attract spiritual energy is to attract the spiritual energy from the outside world and water it in the Taiyuan cave of Daihuang Mountain. This is a hard job where you may not see significant progress after 10 years of doing it. What's even more painful is that Daihuang Mountain is still in the East China Sea. The wind is high and the waves are rough outside, and the environment is harsh. It is not an easy task to draw spiritual energy to water Taiyuan cave heaven. However, Kuei Niu, who had made mistakes first, did not dare to say no. Master, Lao Niu accepts his punishment, please don't punish Qing Feng. I can't tell that you, this old cow, are a compassionate master. Come on, sir, I am not a hard-hearted person. After finishing his words, he turned his head. Get up. Upon hearing this, Qing Feng stood up tremblingly. He glanced at the roses on the ground and said, since this is what Niu Kuei gave you, just keep it. Qing Feng was about to refuse, but when the words came to her lips, she saw Niu Kuei wink at her. The hard work has been done, and the benefits gained cannot be given away. Qing Feng hesitated for a moment and thanked him respectfully. After nodding slightly, he looked at Niu Kuei. Your eyes almost popped out. Hey, I can't hide anything from the master. Get out. Yes, yes. Master, Lao Niu will go first. A flash of spiritual light flew up and quickly disappeared into the horizon. 30 years have passed, and Kuei Niu's cultivation has improved a lot, and now he has reached the 3rd level of Yuan Shen. Su Junming ignored it and turned his head. Where is Zhuge Wolong? Senior brother Zhuge is guarding master in Taiyuan cave, Qing Feng said quickly. In the past 30 years, the entire Daong was in chaos. Zhuge Wolong and Qing Feng assisted the Dragon Emperor to gather the exiled people of Daong. Hard work without complaint is a great achievement. Countless people have accumulated countless merits because they were able to survive the troubled times. Therefore, after the matter was completed, he was accepted as a registered disciple by the Dragon Emperor. Zhuge Wolong's cultivation has reached the level of Yuanying, and he is his senior brother. Qing Feng has survived the catastrophe, and has become Yuanying, and he is his junior sister. Speaking of which, both of them have good qualifications. Although they failed to pass the test of the Earth God sect, they have both passed through more than 200 illusions. Zhuge Wolong, in particular, was able to achieve success in the most difficult path of destiny. His qualifications and understanding were no worse than those of many direct disciples of Su Junming's section in terms of understanding, he even exceeded it by a lot, not counting the blessing of the bronze mirror. But his character shortcomings are also obvious. He relies too much on calculations. When encountering danger, he first thinks about escaping rather than whether he can get through it. Although this cautious approach is not wrong, the journey on the road requires not only tenacious perseverance, but also great courage. Therefore, despite his supersensory talent and understanding, as well as the perseverance to adhere to the Taoism, he has never been able to pass the test of the Earth God sect. Pushing the door open, an old man wearing a green Taoist robe, a yellow gourd tied around his waist, and a bun on his head slowly opened his eyes. The colorful light on his body flashed away. Seeing Su Junming, Zhuge Wolong quickly stood up and saluted. Disciple pays homage to Master. It seems that your great five elements divine light has become quite popular. Master praised me, I'm still far behind Master's level. The great five elements divine light created by Su Junming is the five worlds of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. Although each world has only one element, it is dozens of times easier to open up than a cave world like Daihuang Mountain that can accommodate human cultivation. But the world is the world, and even if it is just a single element world, it is not easy to open up. Therefore, in the 10 years since he became a disciple of the Dragon Emperor, Zhuge Wolong Yuanying's later cultivation has only opened up the world of fire to 30,000 miles. The remaining worlds of metal, wood, water, and earth are only 3,000 miles away. The seeds were laid. Don't worry, the great five elements divine light is a matter of hard work. If you want to practice the red fire divine light, and you have the means to fight the enemy, then you can use the other four elements of divine light. Disciple, obey. By the way, why don't you see your disciple? The academy needs manpower, and Gu Hong went there to help. Because of the Dragon Emperor, there were nearly 200 million people from Daong in Taishi Cave. Although the 120,000-mile Taishi Cave can accommodate so many people, it is not easy to incorporate them into the academy's management system. Especially education, which Su Junming values the most. What he wants is not 200 million ignorant people, but 200 million academy disciples who have a certain culture, know how to practice, and know how to think. Only in this way can we maximize the selection of talents, promote the progress of the academy, turn Taishi Cave Heaven into Taishi World, and have a more brilliant future. In order to achieve this goal, adhering to his will, the academy recruited previously graduated students and expanded nearly 10,000 lower courtyards, thousands of middle courtyards, and nearly 100 upper courtyards. With so many schools, the seemingly abundant nearly 1 million disciples that Chongshan Academy had cultivated for nearly 100 years were no longer enough. In particular, there is an extremely shortage of high-end disciples in the Golden Elixir realm. Therefore, Su Junming's direct descendants and registered disciples were recruited by him to teach students. Even Qiao Shaoxin, Yan Chixia, and Su Huang are no exception. Of course, there are also some people who are not suitable to serve as role models. For example, the talkative black dog, the naughty Kuei Niu, and the demon-born Qing Feng. As for Zhuge Wolong, he was also in charge of an upper court. But as a perfect nascent soul, he doesn't need to be there all the time. Su Junming nodded. Practice well and don't let your disciple pass the Earth God Sex test before you. If that happens, you, the master, will be embarrassed. Zhuge Wolong nodded with a bitter look on his face. Gu Hong was his direct disciple selected from among the hundreds of millions of Daong people using the power of the Xianjing division with the help of heavenly secrets. His aptitude and understanding are worthy of being called the sin of this world, and he is also an innate Taoist body that contains two innate auras, wood and earth. Previously, he was afraid of his disciple because he was harmed by Sahangpudu, so he temporarily placed him with a friend. Later, after following the Dragon Emperor, he was brought back. Fortunately, Gu Hong had not followed Zhuge Wolong for a long time, and he had not learned to be as cautious as his master. Instead, he had served the Dragon Emperor for 30 years and was taught by him to be calm and wise, and he resembled himself. He was very similar to Zhuge Wolong. Master no longer looks like him. Although Gu Hong has never gone to Deshenmen for so many years, from Su Junming's perspective, he has a high chance of passing the test. Uncle. After Su Junming turned his head, Zuo said solemnly, "Uncle, please seal the Ziwei talisman in my dantian." The Ziwei magic talisman is the natal talisman he formed after practicing the Ziwei magic. If it is sealed, this method of calculation will naturally become unusable. It was obvious that he intended to put himself to death and survive. Do you really plan to do this? Disciple has thought about it. If it is not sealed, he will always rely on this method subconsciously to avoid danger. If things go on like this, he will become dependent and become cautious. If he does not change, not only will he be unable to pass through the divine gate, but he will also be unable to survive the future inner demon tribulation. Pass. Have you really thought about it? This is the Tao method you are best at after practicing hard for many years. Zuo gritted his teeth. Disciple has thought about it. It is necessary to practice the great five elements divine light as a foundation. Ziwei Doshu can only be used as an auxiliary method. Su Junming showed a hint of appreciation on his face. It does take a lot of perseverance to give up what you are best at. He is also good at Zhuyi Bagua, which is similar to Ziwei Doshu. But he has never incorporated it into his 12 fundamental laws. Because of the way of deduction, calculating the fate of all beings, and interfering with the reincarnation of heaven, it is destined to be impossible to achieve enlightenment. Therefore, in the world of Zhou Tian, there has never been a powerful person who achieved enlightenment through the art of heaven. Even Fuxi, who founded the Bagua, achieved enlightenment through the Dao fruit of the human race emperor. King Wen of Zhou, who founded the Hushan Bagua, had not even achieved immortality. Therefore, the law of destiny can only be dabbled in, but cannot be relied upon as the foundation, otherwise it would be putting the cart before the horse. He activated the sealing talisman in his dantian, and with a flick of his finger, a ray of spiritual light entered Zuo body, and soon the Ziwei talisman in his dantian was heavily sealed. With Su Junming's current state, it would be easy to seal a nascent soul disciple. Feeling the changes in his dantian, Zuo felt complicated. His lineage comes from the Xianjing Sitng Pavilion, and has always been based on Ziwei magic. Now that he abandons this way and practices the great five elements divine light, it means completely drawing a clear line with the past and the Xianjing Sitng Pavilion. However, he has no regrets, and becoming an immortal has always been the long-cherished wish of all the masters of the Tianji Pavilion. Take a deep breath and bow. Disciple, thank you, Master. Since you have such a strong determination to cut off your wrist, I believe that it won't be long before you can pass the test of the Earth God sect and inherit your master's mantle. Disciples must work hard to cultivate, and my Chongshan lineage will be vast. Su Junming smiled and nodded. After thinking for a moment, he spread his left hand, and a bright iron umbrella emerged from his palm. This Tianluo umbrella is the spiritual treasure of the formation that I practiced. It contains 8 types of Qinqin Sunsen, Canli Zhandui, and 32 spiritual talismans. The innate Bagua formation has endless changes and contains many formation applications. The treasure is a spiritual treasure that completes the 12 treasure prohibitions. Since you are good at Ziwei Doshu, it is not difficult to understand it. Therefore, it will protect you. This disciple dare not accept such a precious treasure. Before he finished speaking, the Tianluo umbrella had flown into his arms, and Su Junming's figure disappeared from sight. Your uncle, I have a lot of spiritual treasures in my hand. I don't need this one. Just take it if you want. Looking at the sparkling treasure umbrella in his hand, Zuo was moved in his heart and immediately turned around and bowed deeply. Disciple, thank you very much, uncle, for this treasure. His tone was full of gratitude, and he took a long time to stand up. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 491. Flying down from the entrance of the cave, the mountain walls around Taiyuan Cave flickered with pale golden light. Although due to the forbidden law, I can no longer feel any yang qi, the entire Taiyuan cave is still as warm as spring and calm. At the bottom of Taiyuan cave, the lake is as calm as ever, like a smooth mirror. The moon-white starlight lotuses are in full bloom, embedded in the emerald green lotus leaves. The white is seductive and the green is elegant, looking extremely harmonious. The faint scent of lotus fills the cave, making people feel at peace. No matter how strong the irritability and anger are, they fade away when they smell it. The several-acre black enlightenment stone is like a black agate, inlaid on a blue spring. It is particularly conspicuous against the white and emerald colors. Wearing a black Taoist robe, his face resembles that of an 11 or 12-year-old dragon emperor. He sits cross-legged on the edge of the enlightenment platform with a calm expression. His body is flashing with colorful brilliance and his treasures are solemn. He is obviously practicing Taoism. As if he was aware of Su Junming's arrival, his eyelids trembled slightly, and he opened them with a swish, and two colorful cold lightning flashed away. "How did you come?" Su Junming sat cross-legged opposite him. "How is your practice of the great five elements divine light? The red fire divine light, the sunflower water divine light and the Wutu divine light have all been perfected. The green wood divine light and the Zhengjin divine light are still 20,000 miles away. The great five elements divine light is more difficult to cultivate than expected." The Dragon Emperor nodded. Originally, he thought that he had the innate Tai Chi and five elements fundamental Chi as his foundation, and it would be easy to push the world of metal, wood, water, fire, earth, and the five elements to perfection. But the facts were exactly the opposite. The further he went, the more difficult it became to progress in the five elements world, which disrupted his original practice plan. 30 years have passed, and we are still far away from overcoming the immortal tribulation. How long will it take for the five elements to be perfect? After the Dragon Emperor pondered for a moment, he said cautiously, 5 years. Su Jun understood clearly, it hasn't been a long time. Is your puppet body finished? I didn't expect you to come to the front, the Dragon Emperor said unwillingly. After looking at him, Su Junming smiled calmly. You have already reached the 12th level of Yuan Shen, and I am still 3 levels short of it. I am afraid that I will still fall behind you when I go through the tribulation of heaven and immortality. I won't keep losing. The conversation changed. Are you going to the East China Sea and the Eye of the Sea? I've been waiting for so many years, just for this moment. Su Junming nodded with yearning in his eyes. It is said that the ancient dragon court was rich in the world and had countless treasures. It was the only existence in ancient times that could compete with the human race. The clan's most precious treasure, the two elephants' divine ring, is an innate spiritual treasure that contains both wind and water. Look east. In the tens of thousands of miles of high winds and rough seas overseas, we know that this treasure is still in the Dragon Palace. In addition, ancient books record that the ancient war broke out because the Dragon clan obtained a sacred stone that fell from the sky, which eventually made the human clans feel jealous and launched a war in advance. It can be seen that this sacred stone is not an extraordinary thing. If nothing else, just for these two treasures. I also want to explore the ancient dragon court. The Dragon Emperor nodded. Do you want me to go with you? I have a true immortal level puppet body in my hand. Even if the ancient Dragon Emperor of Dragon Court is resurrected, he can still resist it. You don't have to worry. After saying that, Su Junming stood up. By the way, you did gain a good disciple. With a flick of his finger, he passed on the memory of the meeting with Zhuge Wolong to the Dragon Emperor. There was a trace of relief on the latter's cold face. He finally got it. Aren't you not going to accept him as your disciple? Why do you still look like you're hoping your son will succeed? People will always change. After that, he closed his eyes and ignored Su Junming. Seeing him like this, he shook his head and turned around and left Taiyuan Cave. With a thought in his heart, he left Daihuang Mountain in an instant. Looking at Kuei Niu, who was sitting cross-legged outside Daihuang Mountain, activating his magic power, restraining the feng shui, and pouring it into the cave sky of Daihuang Mountain. He nodded secretly. Although this old cow is greedy and lustful, he is diligent, not afraid of hardship, and extremely loyal, which makes Su Junming increasingly reluctant to part with him. After a moment of pause, the light flew down and disappeared into the sea in an instant. Due to its strong aura, the East China Sea should have been a holy land for spiritual practice. However, the harsh environment with high winds and waves has isolated most living beings. Except for those ancient relics with strong physiques, almost nothing can survive here. However, after so many years, most of the ancient relics that drank blood and hair were killed by Su Junming and used to practice the Panhuang scripture or repair the puppets of the witch generals. The remaining ones were put into the ocean outside Daihuang Mountain. After several rounds of searching, the already lively and lonely East China Sea became increasingly quiet, as if it had lost all traces of life. In this invisible, bone-chilling, and extremely silent sea water, even practitioners dare not go deep. However, Su Junming has been here several times relying on the magical power of the bronze mirror, and even visited the East China Sea Sea Eye. But the Sea Eye of the East China Sea is no better than the Sea Eye of the North Sea he has been to. Not only is the pressure of sea water heavier, but the magnetic force of the earth is stronger. The most important thing is that when the ancient dragon court sank, a large formation was set up here. This formation changed the celestial phenomena outside and strengthened the already powerful magnetic power of the earth several times. With all the tricks, even the immortals who had just survived the catastrophe would not dare to go deep into the eyes of the sea. Therefore, Su Junming made several inquiries and realized that it could not be done, so he honestly practiced the witch general's puppet. Only this body of the true immortal witch clan, which towers over mountains and seas, can withstand the weight of the vast expanse of sea water in the eye of the East China Sea. Of course, if this world is at its peak, this physical body may not be able to withstand it. But an ancient war caused huge losses to the origin of this world, and the path to immortality has been wiped out. It also gave Su Junming the opportunity to take a peek here. As his body continued to sink, the pressure around him became heavier and heavier. Fortunately, Su Junming's own physical cultivation had reached the pinnacle of this world, otherwise he would not have been able to bear it. After sinking nearly 10,000 miles, under the blessing of the bronze mirror, a huge black hole with a diameter of more than 30,000 feet appeared in front of him. Su Junming could almost feel the boundless and extremely rich water aura here without even using his spiritual consciousness. Eddy currents, large and small, surround the huge hole, growing and dying, stirring endlessly. Although there is no earth-shattering sound, the danger is no less dangerous than the thunder of heavenly tribulation. Eye of the East China Sea. Su Junming's heart sank slightly. He has been here several times, but every time he sees this eye, which is more than 10 times larger than the North Sea Eye and takes up 20% of the water vapor in this world, he can't help but feel awe. The power of heaven and earth is really amazing. We can't go any further. Although his physical body can still bear it. But the swallowing power of those undersea eddies is astonishingly strong. Once swallowed, it will be instantly driven into the eye of the sea by the turbulent current, and the entire body will be crushed and exploded. With a wave of his hand, the shaman puppet wearing armor flew out. Creak. The protective armor that Su Junming had trained for him suddenly made an overwhelmed sound, the aura flashed randomly, and the formation patterns became unstable. Almost forgot. He connected the puppet talisman with his thoughts and quickly put away the armor outside his body. This is the spiritual treasure that he refined with great difficulty, and he cannot destroy it here. Looking at the 9-foot-tall yellow-faced man in front of him, Su Junming turned into an escaping light and disappeared between his eyebrows. After focusing my main energy on this sorcerer general puppet, I instantly felt that my originally heavy body seemed to have been relieved of 1,000 kilograms of burden, and instantly became lighter. This obvious change made him feel happy. 30 years of hard work and countless resource investments have indeed paid off. It's so easy. The physical body of a high-ranking shaman general, with combat power comparable to that of an ordinary golden immortal. In this world where there are no immortals anymore, they can be called unsolvable existences. Taking a deep breath, looking at Hyun with passion, he took a step and fell straight down. The treasures of the ancient dragon court are mine. Su Junming, who had no scruples, quickly ran into a vortex more than 30 meters wide. The rapid and heavy flow of water instantly knocked him nearly 1,000 feet out of his eyes. Su Junming didn't resist. He waited until the vortex became smaller before controlling the puppet to gain a firm footing. Looking up, the edge of the sea eye has turned into a huge aperture with a little light. In fact, the aperture is just an illusion, there is no light here at all. But compared to the completely dark inside of the sea eye, the outside is still a little brighter. Leaning down to look, Su Junming didn't use his spiritual consciousness, because in this hellish place, as soon as his spiritual consciousness left his body, it would be crushed by the heavy sea water. Therefore, the only thing that can be used to identify objects is the bronze mirror. No, there are actually eyes of this body, the eyes of a high-ranking shaman general, who can see within 10 miles even in this dark place. However, Su Junming still prefers to use a bronze mirror. In addition to seeing further, he can also see through restrictions, see various hidden dangers, and various treasures. The sea eye is deeper than Su Junming imagined. After sinking nearly 1,000 miles, we finally saw the bottom. There is no life here. The extremely heavy and cold water fills every inch of the surrounding space. At the bottom of the eye of the sea, about 100 miles in radius, sits a luxurious but dilapidated palace on a flat and hard rock. It is said to be luxurious because its entire body is made of extremely precious crystal spirit stones. Crystal spirit stones are water-based spiritual materials of a kind of insight level that can be used to refine spiritual treasures. In the Daong cultivation world, palm-sized crystal spirit stones are priceless and unavailable, but here they use crystal spirit stones to construct an occupancy building. A magnificent palace nearly 100 miles away. Although there is no light, you can imagine how beautiful it is when it is located at the bottom of the East China Sea and bathed in the sun. However, the once gorgeous palace seemed to have experienced a great war. Except for a few major palaces, most of them have become dilapidated. Especially in the middle, there was an extremely clear sword mark, which cut a palace that was 6 to 7 feet high and covered an area of dozens of acres into 2 sections. Tens of thousands of years have passed, and these remaining traces still tell the story of the tragedy of the war. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 492. Chapter 485, Ancient Dragon Court, Part 2. After slowly falling to the bottom of the sea and his feet touching the hard ground, Su Junming did not step forward rashly. With the help of the bronze mirror, one can see spiderweb-like restrictions, protecting the entire crystal palace inside. This restriction can block the heavy pressure of the East China Sea eye, which is certainly extraordinary. Su Junming had no intention of breaking through. In the past 30 years, he had mastered this formation by using bronze mirrors to enhance his understanding and clairvoyance. Su Junming, who was sitting cross-legged in the sea of consciousness of the witch general's puppet, changed his finger formulas, and the spiritual light turned into seal formulas and flew into the restriction in front. The tedious process of sealing took a lot of time. It took more than 10 minutes. After hundreds of seals were printed, a spiritual light suddenly appeared in the empty place in front of me. Soon, a blue light door 7 feet long and 1 foot high appeared in front. He urged the sorcerer's puppet to take a step forward and pass by instantly. The light door disappeared and everything returned to its original state. When Su Junming came into the formation, he felt light all over his body, and the weight of hundreds of millions of people seemed to be gone. Looking up, I saw a light blue, extremely tough film that kept out all the sea water. The power of the innate spiritual treasure is indeed extraordinary. Think for a moment and look ahead. A giant archway 9 feet high and 12 feet wide, made entirely of crystal stones, appeared in front of him. The plaque in the middle of the archway is imprinted with the 4-character eclipse inscription. Crystal Palace. Surrounding the archway are some tall and beautiful corals. They don't look very tall, but they are heavily restricted, like a wall, only protecting the crystal palace inside. A flash of light flashed, and Su Junming's true body flew out from the wizard puppet. There is formation protection here, so there is no need to face the heavy pressure of the endless sea water in the eye of the sea, and naturally there is no need to add a layer of shell to oneself. Moreover, although the witch clan is physically strong, without magic power, they are really not suitable for the delicate work of breaking formations and obtaining treasures. After examining the magnificent archway in front of him, Su Junming smiled faintly. Such a restriction cannot stop me. He could do nothing about the powerful immortal formation on the outermost layer that could block billions of tons of sea water. But ordinary soul-level formations are no problem. Activate the Danshan Hushan Spirit Talisman, stretch out your finger, and a string of light yellow rice grains hit the void. Along with the black mist, a space channel that is large enough for an adult to pass through appears in front of you. Reaching out to grab the Sorcerer General's puppet, the two turned into light and disappeared in the middle of the passage. When the two of them appeared again, they were already behind the archway and inside the Crystal Palace. In an instant, extremely rich spiritual energy surrounded him. Its richness is almost as strong as his Chongshan residence. But what amazed him more than the concentration of spiritual energy was what he saw in front of him. As expected of the Dragon Clan. Under his feet, there was an avenue hundreds of feet wide, completely paved with huge crystal stones, stretching for more than 10 miles, leading to the main hall in front. It is no longer accurate to say it is a main hall. Because it is 1,000 feet high and 10,000 feet wide, combined with the scattered and smaller palaces around it, it looks like a palace in the sky. Being among them, Su Junming felt like a little ant in the land of giants. But when you think about the fact that the dragons are often dozens of people and nearly 100 feet long, you can understand why they built the Crystal Palace so tall. After briefly looking at the dense coral forest on both sides of the corridor, Su Junming withdrew his gaze and fled straight to the main hall at the front. In this first level of the palace, the treasure light is the strongest. Land on the top of the tall steps and look up. 4C Palace. 3 large characters of eclipse came into view. The old technique was repeated, using the Hu Tianshen technique to penetrate into the main hall. The overall layout here is similar to the living room of a wealthy human family. In the middle is a huge coral dragon chair, surrounded by 2 rows and 6 columns of coral chairs. Each chair is 100 feet wide, like a hill. The other 6 chairs were just that. Su Junming went to the very back, to the most gorgeous dragon chair, and raised his feet to kick the legs of the chair that looked like a city wall. Grandma, the dragon clan is a rich man, and the 10,000 years fire coral is a spiritual material that can be used to cultivate immortal weapons. But they used it here as a backstop for themselves. It's really a waste of natural resources. It can also be seen from this chair that the rumors about the dragon clan's good reputation are indeed not groundless. With a wave of his sleeves, he put the chair away. As for the coral chairs around them, they are also carved from 6,000 to 7,000 years of coral. However, tens of thousands of years have passed, and due to lack of nurturing, the quality has continued to decline. Although it still has some value, it is not in Su Junming's eyes. In addition to these coral tables and chairs, the surrounding gauze curtains are all made of fine shark-ling silk. Although the furnishings on the shelves behind are not lingbao, the materials are not bad. Unfortunately, like those coral chairs, their value has plummeted under the ravages of time. Only the dragon chair that has been refined entirely from 10,000 years of fire coral is left. It has a rich heritage and is the central hub for the operation of the entire hall's formation. It is tempered by the spiritual energy. Although the quality has declined a bit, it is still the best spiritual insight. Material. It can be considered a small gain. After nodding with satisfaction, he turned around and walked out through the small door on the left side of the hall. It is said to be a small door, but given the size of the dragon clan, it is also a huge door more than 10 feet high and 6 or 7 feet wide. As soon as he walked out of the door, Su Junming's pupils shrank and he subconsciously stopped. 3 feet away, leaning against a tall corridor pillar, was a middle-aged man with messy temples. The man's eyes were wide open and his chest was broken. He had obviously been dead for many years. Only a crimson sledgehammer held tightly in his right hand still had a faint aura. Not far away from him, an 800-foot-long dragon corpse was lying on the spot. The dragon's head seemed to have been hit by some blunt object, and it was completely dented. The body was also pitted, the scales were broken, and it was extremely miserable. Although tens of thousands of years have passed since the ancient war, the scene before us still tells the story of the tragedy of that war. The 800-foot dragon is undoubtedly a Yuan Shen monk. If he can die with it, this Taoist must also be a Yuan Shen. In today's practice world, they are all giants in the practice world who are respected by thousands of people. But tens of thousands of years ago, they died here like soldiers. He stretched out his hand and the red sledgehammer in the Taoist's hand flew into his palm. After a brief glance, he sighed secretly. A fire-attributed spiritual treasure, after tens of thousands of years, only the body remains. Throwing it into the space in the sleeve, although only the body is left, it is also a rare magic weapon for those innate monks. It should be used as waste. His arrival inevitably caused slight disturbances in the water flow. Although it was not big, it changed tens of thousands of years of peace. The corpses of the middle-aged man and the dragon instantly turned into ashes. Ding dong, several bones fell from the dragon's corpse. Su Junming took a look and saw a few dragon teeth and the sharp horns on the top of his head. Compared with the flame hammer that only had the body left, although the quality of these bones had dropped by more than half, they could still be used to cultivate several spiritual weapons. But he didn't go to get it. Wait until we take down this dragon palace and then restrain ourselves. Follow the wide corridor and bypass the Sihai palace. A huge whale blocked the way. This giant whale was nearly 1,000 feet long and fell to the ground, like a black mountain. It is conceivable that when it was alive, it must have been a great demon that had reached the peak of its soul and was on the verge of transcending tribulation. But now there are only corpses left here. Su Junming urged Hu Tianshen to perform his magic, bypassing the giant whale and looking forward. Even though he had known it for a long time, he was still shocked when he saw the scene in front of him. Bodies of all sizes were scattered across the square, which was thousands of miles in size. Some of them are still intact like the giant whale, while others are just broken limbs. Among the corpses of these monsters in the sea, large and small, there are also corpses of human beings. Some of them are overlapped and some are separated. Broken armor and broken magic weapons can be seen everywhere. The broken hull and the cracked earth tell the story of the tragedy of the war. Looking down at the entire battlefield, Su Junming seemed to hear the echoes left over tens of thousands of years ago, the earth-shattering roar, and the explosion that shook the sky after Deifa took action. Both sides gritted their teeth, with red eyes, fighting for their lives for their respective tribes. Human race, demon race. Su Junming had mixed feelings in his heart. He understood that the reason why the ancient war was able to break out was simply that the world's resources had been divided up by everyone. When resources are insufficient, no conspiracy is needed, and everyone's attention will subconsciously turn outward. In order to compete for more living space, there is no need for a reason for war. It seems that no matter how far it develops, the word human must be added in front of the immortal. After sighing and calming down, he urged the escape light to move forward slowly. You can see the corpses of various monsters in the sea under your feet, and even some ancient races that are rumored to have been exterminated long ago can also be seen here. Su Junming's eyes narrowed and he subconsciously speeded up his escape. Arriving at the center of the battlefield, under his feet was a giant blue dragon nearly 3,000 feet long. A huge spear broke through the back, penetrated 7 inches, and nailed it to the ground. The horns are like a deer, the head is like a cow, the eyes are like shrimps, the mouth is like a donkey, the belly is like a snake, the scales are like a fish, the feet are like a phoenix, the beard is like a human, and the ears are like an elephant. It was obvious that this was a real heavenly dragon, not one of those specious dragons. Tianlong is also called Immortal Dragon, which is a dragon clan that has become an immortal. This giant blue dragon is undoubtedly an immortal who has passed through the immortal tribulation and achieved the title of Heavenly Dragon. Even so, he was shot to death here. Although it was not the first time that Su Junming saw the corpse of an immortal, it was the first time that he saw the corpse of a dragon. The strength of the demon clan is generally higher than that of the human race of the same level. Killing this dragon will probably cost a lot. Su Junming waved his hand, and the spear inserted into the dragon corpse shrunk and flew into Su Junming's palm. Although tens of thousands of years have passed, this spear, which was once an immortal weapon, is still as bright as new. With a slight shake, the sharp spearhead cuts through the air and makes a hissing sound. As soon as the mana was activated, the jumping arc collapsed instantly. Good. I secretly praised it in my heart. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 493. Chapter 486, Ancient Dragon Cord, Part 2. Although this thunder spear no longer has the essence of an immortal weapon, it is still a top spiritual treasure. If it is nourished by enough spiritual energy, it may not be impossible to restore the true form of the immortal weapon. It's much better than the coiling dragon spear I made myself. While Su Junming put away his spear, the dragon corpse on the ground also moved. The rotten flesh and blood turned into fly ash and scattered all over the ground. Only a jade-like white bone, 3,000 feet long, shining fluorescently, meandering on the ground like a mountain. Although this keel has lost a lot of its essence, it is still a top-quality material and should not be missed. He stretched out his hand and made a move, and the dragon bone turned into a stream of light and flew into his sleeve. After deep observation with his spiritual consciousness, a broken bronze mirror and a long sword with a broken horn soon flew into his hand. Compared with the flame hammer that Su Junming got first, although the bronze mirror and long sword are broken, they still have a faint aura. Tens of thousands of years have not turned them into useless garbage. The broken immortal weapon is here, but I don't see the corpse of the dragon-slaying immortal. Shaked his head. Throwing the remains of the 2 immortal weapons into his sleeves, he activated the escape light to fly forward. After passing through the square, there is a ravine hundreds of miles long and dozens of miles wide. This ravine penetrates the Crystal Palace, and you can faintly see the forbidden law protecting the palace. The 2 sides of the ravine are extremely flat, as if they were cut with a sharp weapon. Su Junming is very familiar with this kind of traces, and his 4 elephants sword formation often leaves such traces. Surrounding the gully is a ruined palace. It can be seen that it was once extremely grand. Even the 2 remaining ruins are still thousands of feet high. If it were complete, it would probably not be lower than 3,000 or 4,000 feet. The bronze mirror penetrated the ruins, and inside it were more than a dozen dragon corpses of different lengths. It seems that they are all in the realm of Yuan Shen. In particular, there was a giant dragon with a body length of 2,000 feet and a red body. There is no doubt that this is also the corpse of a heavenly dragon. These dragons were basically killed by the sword light falling from the sky with one sword. Su Junming originally wanted to put away the treasures left in these dragon corpses. In particular, the heavenly dragon's natal treasure is a rare fairy weapon. Although it has fallen down the level now, the foundation is still there. As long as the spiritual energy can keep up, it can be raised again. But when he saw the scene behind the ruins, he couldn't care less. Behind the ruins of the palace is a lake hundreds of miles long. It is unimaginable that this vast lake is filled with rare starlight water. However, what Su Junming cared about was not the priceless water of the lake, but the body of a giant snake that was 7,000 feet in diameter, with a gray head and a black body. This was a ba snake, which reminded Su Junming of the ba snake he killed in the open sea. The Naba snake is only over 2,000 feet tall, the peak of its soul. And this ba snake has undoubtedly passed through the immortal tribulation and achieved the status of demon immortal. And judging from its remaining power, it is stronger than the previous blue dragon. It is obvious that it has traveled a long way in the immortal path, and is even a great demon at the peak of immortality. Not far from the snake body on the lake, a 9-foot tall man was lying quietly on the lake. He had obviously been dead for a long time. Not far away from him, there was an old man in a big red robe, with 2 jade tendons hanging down from his nose, holding a broken banana fan in his hand, silently. 100 feet away from the old man, a woman with pipa in her arms and high-net hair sat on the stone pillar of the pavilion. A hole as thick as a fingertip penetrated her head between her eyebrows. These 3 people are obviously immortals too. Counting the Naba snake, 4 immortals died here. Su Junming flew over. It fell directly on ba snake. Tens of thousands of years have passed for this extremely powerful demon fairy to let its body decay. Su Junming could still feel the sea-like energy and blood from this dead body. But no matter how strong the blood is, it can't compare to his witch general puppet. He stretched out his hand, and a huge black scale flew into his palm. His consciousness soaked into it, and his brows instantly wrinkled. No, how could it not be? After quickly searching the treasures stored in the corpses of the 3 immortals around him, he still couldn't find the innate spiritual root he wanted. That's right, it's the innate spiritual root. From the memory of the snake he killed earlier after it made a sound, it can be seen that the branch with the innate spiritual root in its hand was placed there in advance. Who is this person? Su Junming might not have known about it before. But seeing the corpse of the snake, the result is self-evident. There can't be too many snakes in a world. Obviously, it was the snake in the fairyland who had a premonition of the tragic ending of the ancient war and transferred his descendants in advance. Therefore, the main root of the innate spiritual root may finally be in it. However, Su Junming searched hard and even searched the entire lake with bronze mirrors, but he still couldn't find what he wanted. If it's not here, it's only there. As far as the eye can see, a towering crystal pagoda comes into view. The 8-sided shape looks magnificent. The pagoda is 9,000 feet tall and covers an area of nearly 10,000 acres. It is divided into 9 floors, and each floor is covered by numerous restrictions. If the forbidden strength of the Crystal Palace is 1, then this is 10. This pagoda is the central center of the entire Crystal Palace. It is it that supports the weight of hundreds of millions of tons of seawater in the entire East China Sea. Su Junming took a look and didn't rush over. First, clean up the surrounding battlefield and collect the bodies of the human ancestors so that they can be buried in peace after leaving. As for the demon clan, there is nothing much to say. As long as it can be used, it cannot be wasted. Seeing that there was nothing missing, he flew towards the crystal pagoda in the middle. The closer you get, the more majestic the pagoda becomes. Landed on the extremely wide steps in front of the tower. Compared to the mountains of blood and corpses elsewhere, this place is very clean, with no trace of fighting visible. Looking forward, there is an extremely generous stone tablet that is 90 feet high, with 3 characters engraved in vermilion etching. Hidden Dragon Tower. In fact, the entire tower is a powerful magical weapon. Of course, after tens of thousands of years, it has become a spiritual treasure. Going around the stone monument, there are 8 stone gates 300 feet high and 200 feet wide. On both sides of each stone door, there are 2 5-clawed celestial dragons embossed in relief. The dragon's head and dragon's eyes are wide open, and the dragon's claws are ready to go, as if they are about to boil out from the wall at any time and catch every outsider who enters the hidden dragon tower without permission. Su Junming stopped and took a look. These stone sculptures of Tianlong had complicated internal restrictions and were obviously not decorations. However, without human control, they are no different from decorations. When he came to the door, he didn't go in rashly. He sat down cross-legged and meditated for 7 days before standing up, provoking a dream of yellow beams. As the powerful spatial spiritual energy rippled, a black hole as big as a bowl appeared on the heavily barred stone door. Su Junming did not fly in by himself, but merged into the wizard puppet again and flew in as a puppet. The moment he flew in, he was surrounded by more intense spiritual energy. A space as large as thousands of miles appeared in Su Junming's eyes. In the huge space, there was a huge dragon corpse. This dragon corpse is covered with golden scales. Even though it has been dead for many years, its vitality and blood are still comparable to those of an immortal. The huge body of nearly 10,000 feet stretches across the front like a huge mountain. Even tens of thousands of years cannot erase the domineering aura of the emperor and the evil aura accumulated after many years of bloody battles. Silently feeling the powerful pressure, Su Junming could not imagine how strong he was at his peak. Who is coming? There was an old shout and sword light flashed. An old man wearing a grey robe, with white beard, white eyebrows and white hair, slowly flew over from the dragon corpse. The old man sat cross-legged, with a dark purple forsythia long sword placed between his legs. Before the person got close, Su Junming felt an astonishing sword intent from his body. This sword intent is 1,000 times stronger than Su Junming's. Even with the physical protection of the witch general, Su Junming could still feel the heavy pressure like a ray of light on his back. What a strong swordsman! But behind the strength, Su Junming saw through the bronze mirror the uncontrollable decay in his body. This is a peerless strong man whose life has come to an end. People who survived from the previous era. Su Junming hesitated for a moment, then urged the wizard to turn the puppet into a body 10 feet tall, while he himself flew out from between his eyebrows and landed on top of the puppet's body. Su Junming, the junior student at the end of the school, meets the seniors. The old man glanced at him and frowned slightly. Are you a human? Exactly. This Dragon Clan Crystal Palace is under the eyes of the vast sea, and it was surrounded by that evil dragon Aojo. He used the Dragon Clan's most precious treasure, the 2 elephants ring, to set up a large formation. How did you, the primordial spirit, get in? Returning to the seniors, the law of heaven is at an end, and the spiritual energy is declining. The pressure of the sea has become as huge as it was in ancient times, and the junior is proficient in the formation, and has this physical puppet as a support, so he can come here. The old man looked at the wizard puppet at his feet, with a look of surprise on his face. What a powerful body, even more powerful than the body of Dragon Emperor Aojo at his peak. After that, he stared at Su Junming. With your strength, how could you get such a powerful body to refine a puppet? Speaking of it, it is the luck of this junior. About 300 years ago, the owner of this physical body fell from the sky into our world of mountains and seas. He was seriously injured by the heavenly realm of our world. High-ranking cultivators from all over the world attacked him. In the end, he was acquired by this junior and was able to be trained into a puppet. You're in luck. Su Junming smiled lightly and didn't say much. You are here also for the treasure of Dragon Court, right? Yes. He didn't bother to hide what was obvious about such a bald man with lice. It's better for you. After a pause, this matter is not difficult. As long as you do me a favor, you can take everything here, including the purple lightning sword in my hand. I wonder what the senior wants the junior to do. The old man looked up, with deep hatred on his face. Help me break the forbidden law and go to the 9th floor of the hidden dragon tower. I want to kill Aojo. The ancient dragon emperor Aojo is not dead, Su Junming was shocked. The old man shook his head. Aojo has cultivated to the level of true immortal. He is only one step away from becoming a golden immortal. The Dragon King is so easy to kill. My old friend Xiaoxiang did not hesitate to self-destruct. I tried my best to seriously injure him, but I could only kill its body and severely injure it. My soul has not completely killed this beast. Become a disciple of Taoist priest Four Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 494. Chapter 487 Hidden Dragon Tower. Dragon Emperor Aojo is on the 9th floor of the Hidden Dragon Tower, Su Junming asked. That's right. If my guess is correct, its soul is on the 9th level at the moment, and it has occupied the spiritual fetus of the outer god stone of that day, hoping to become an innate god in one fell swoop. There was sarcasm on the old man's face. It's a pity that a great war in ancient times caused great damage to the world of mountains and seas. The aura is declining day by day, and the aura in the Dragon Palace has also dropped by 70%. Even after tens of thousands of years, it has not been able to transform and out. But that generation has a big grudge against my human race. If it can't be eradicated, it will definitely be a big disaster in the future. I will risk my life to kill it here. Su Junming said with admiration. Senior's generosity and righteousness make the younger generation admire him. Waving his hand, the old man sighed, that's all I have. As long as I can kill Aojo and eliminate this last great scourge for the human race, Yun is enough. After finishing his words, he looked at Su Junming. How about it, are you willing to give me a helping hand? The juniors are both human beings, so of course they won't stand idly by. After a pause, he said, however, the seniors have been trapped here for tens of thousands of years. Don't you want to hear about the changes in the outside world? The old man shook his head. No need. Tens of thousands of years have passed, and I'm afraid those old friends and disciples I'm familiar with are no longer alive. Asking too many questions will only increase my worries. Su Junming nodded and waved his hand, spreading a large amount of spiritual light. The golden dragon corpse that covered the ground like lightning was quickly put into his sleeves. Gently shaking his sleeves, Su Junming said calmly, a corpse that has been dead for many years would be an eyesore here. If the senior doesn't want it, let the junior handle it. The corners of the white-haired old man's eyes trembled, and a trace of anger flashed in his eyes. This dragon corpse has been dead for many years. Although it has a strong foundation and strong blood and spiritual energy, the death energy and evil energy accumulated for thousands of years are indeed a great harm. If it cannot be cleaned up, it must not be used. Thank you, senior, for your advice. I, the junior, must be careful. Glanced at him. In that case, you can clear the way in front. If I don't master the formation, I won't be able to get up to the hidden dragon tower. That's fine. However, the formations here are complicated and it will take a lot of time for this junior to do it. How long? It takes 3 years if it breaks, and 5 years if it lasts. Can't it be shorter? Su Junming shook his head. Okay, as you say. Then I'll trouble you, senior, to wait. After saying that, he sat down cross-legged. Seeing him like this, the white-haired old man's eyes flashed, and he sat cross-legged not far away. In the empty and silent space, the original appearance was restored again. After Su Junming opened his eyes and glanced at the other party, he smiled faintly and closed his eyes. Divine consciousness sank into the Taoist robe space. Looking at the huge golden dragon corpse, my heart was filled with deep joy. Although it has been dead for tens of thousands of years, the body of this true dragon has not completely lost its activity, especially its heart, which is still radiating heat. If you get enough spiritual energy, it is not difficult to bring this corpse back to life. Of course, the living corpse is also a corpse, just like the shaman puppet he trained. However, compared to the shaman puppet that he spent 30 years and countless resources and energy to resurrect, the key to the reason why this golden dragon is not dead yet is that deep in its heart, there is a 100-foot-tall tree with dozens of people hugging it. A big tree with dry stems and gnarled branches, and leaves as if carved from jasper, but with milky white flowers. It can be seen that this big tree is not growing well, nearly half of the branches and leaves have withered, and the remaining ones are also sickly, as if they have not been watered for a long time. Even so, this big tree is still filled with extremely rich innate greenwood spiritual energy, as well as a small amount of innate good fortune spiritual energy. Su Junming felt the long-awaited breath from this big tree. It was exactly the same aura that he felt on the branch of the innate spiritual root he obtained after killing the snake in the East China Sea. I didn't expect to find it on the demon fairy snake outside, but I got it here by mistake. However, this thing seems to have an owner. Through the bronze mirror, he could clearly see the unique imprint of the soul inside the innate spiritual root. I originally wanted to erase this mark, but thought about it and stopped. Now is not the time. The thought fell, and through the connection between the soul and the soul, he found the Dragon Emperor who was in retreat in Taiyuan Cave in Daihuang Mountain. What's the matter? I have arrived at the ancient dragon court, but things are a bit complicated. I'm afraid I need your help in the end. Isn't it enough to have the wizard and puppet here? Of course it's enough. But you know the consequences. If I can't get the treasures in the ancient dragon court before being squeezed out by the heavenly law of this world, I'm afraid I won't have another chance. Unless I destroy this world, but in this way the cause and effect is too great for a wise man to do. The Dragon Emperor was silent for a moment. What do you want me to do? Seize the time to practice the great 5 elements divine light to perfection, and then you can use it freely. I see. I still have some spiritual materials with Zhengjin and Aoki attributes stored in the treasure house. You can take them out and practice the Aoki divine light and Zhengjin divine light. Are you willing? Of course, Su Junming smiled. No matter how good the greenwood spiritual material is, how can it compare to an innate spiritual root? No matter how good the Zhengjin spiritual material is, how can it compare to an innate spiritual treasure? What's more, there is an innate spiritual fetus. If you can get it, all the efforts will be worth it. New. Su Junming cut off the contact between the two parties and thought to himself. The next step is to delay. In the past 30 years, with the help of the bronze mirror, he had long understood all the formations in the ancient dragon court. Even if you go straight to the 9th floor of the hidden dragon tower, there will be no problem. However, this cannot be done now. 3 months later, Su Junming slowly opened his eyes. As if sensing something, the white-haired old man 3 feet away also opened his eyes. How is it? Have you understood the formation of the hidden dragon tower? Fortunately, I did not disgrace my life. The white-haired old man had a smile on his face. Then let's get started. Kill that demonic dragon sooner, and I can reincarnate with peace of mind sooner. Su Junming nodded, his palms flew, and as the spiritual light flashed, seals flew upwards. The white-haired old man looked at it and was slightly shocked. He really got it? Su Junming moved his palms as fast as flying, like a wheel. In an instant, he slapped his palms together and drank in his mouth. Open. Soon, countless crystal stones began to slide on the top floor of the space, and gradually, A crystal staircase 10 feet wide extended down from above. Su Junming stood up. "Senior, please." The white-haired old man nodded and looked at him. "I didn't expect you to have such profound cultivation in the formation. Senior, I'll give you the prize. I'm the junior who is best at the formation path and the puppet path." A side door? Haha, in ancient times, countless outstanding people with high levels of cultivation have encountered obstacles in these two paths, and in the past tens of thousands of years, you were the first monk to come here. Su Junming smiled lightly and didn't say much. After taking a deep look at him, the white-haired old man activated the escape light and flew towards the second floor. Compared with the openness of the first floor, the second floor is different. There are nearly 100 crystal stone piers here. These stone piers are 3 feet high and nearly 15 feet in diameter. They look like futons magnified 100 times. Behind these large stone piers are rows of shelves. On the shelf are golden books and jade volumes that often appeared in ancient centuries. Su Junming walked over and took a volume from the shelf. After a brief glance, he activated his magic power and collected all the golden books and jade volumes into the space in his sleeve. The white-haired old man saw it and didn't stop it. "You really don't let go at all." Su Junming seemed not to hear the sarcasm in his words. An ancient war caused many techniques to be lost. The younger generation can obtain these and bring them outside. It will also be a huge supplement and promotion for the cultivation world. I can't tell that you still have such a compassionate heart. Thank you, senior. The white-haired old man looked away. "Go on, let's go to the third floor. I'm afraid I will disappoint my seniors. I have only understood the formation to open the second level. If I want to open the third level, I'm afraid it will take some time." The white-haired old man breathed a sigh of relief and said secretly, "I thought that I would have understood the entire Hidden Dragon Pavilion formation in just 3 months. It turned out that it was only the first and second floors. From this point of view, the cultivation of the formation is not shocking." Feeling relieved, he continued, "How long will it take?" 1 month is enough." "Really?" The formations in the Hidden Dragon Pavilion are all continuous formations. The beginning is the hardest. As long as you step forward and find the clue, it will be much easier to understand later. The white-haired old man nodded. "Then hurry up." After agreeing, Su Junming spent a month opening the third floor. The third floor, like the second floor, is also a place for collecting books. However, the quality of the books collected here is obviously much better than that on the second floor. From then on, every month or so, he opened a new level. Soon they arrived at the 8th floor. At this time, 1 year had passed since Su Junming entered the Hidden Dragon Pagoda. Of the 7 floors that were previously opened, the first floor was empty, the second and third floors were where books were stored, and the fourth and fifth floors were where treasures were hidden. However, there are not many precious things in it, and I don't know whether it was taken away in advance or whether it was not there in the first place. Even if there are some left, under the ravages of tens of thousands of years, their quality has dropped and they have almost lost their value. The 6th floor is divided into many separate rooms, like a place for retreat. The 7th floor is the same as the first floor. It is extremely empty and has no idea of its purpose. The 8th floor is completely different from the previous 7 floors. In the huge space, 7 huge rocks are scattered randomly. It is divided into 7 colors: red, green, blue, white, yellow, cyan and purple. Each boulder is 10 feet high and 100 feet wide. Especially the blue boulder is the largest, 300 feet wide. Water vein spiritual stone. Su Junming was greatly envious. This huge blue boulder is the spiritual material water vein spiritual stone that is most desired by monks who practice water magic in the world of cultivation.